Well, I'm joined here today with Dr. Michael Boda, the Chief Electoral Officer for Saskatchewan. Now, Dr. Boda, I know that Elections Saskatchewan recently launched their Vote by Mail campaign, so just kind of share with us what that campaign is and what the Vote by Mail process is.
Well, for this election, we have launched Vote by Mail in a much larger way than we have in the past. In the past, there have been about 1% of voters who have requested what is called an absentee ballot, but it's really vote by mail. It's a postal ballot. So we've launched this in August, asking for voters to apply for their ballot in advance if they're interested in participating in that way. We want to be able to offer more options to voters in a context where COVID-19 could be present in Saskatchewan, and there will be some people who believe that they may be immunocompromised or they may feel it's a health hazard to leave and go to a physical polling location.
How important was it on your end to create that option for residents?
Well, we wanted to offer more options to people. We are preparing for polling locations during 5 days of advance voting and on election day in a way that will allow for a safer voting process. So if there are people who find themselves going to a local grocery store, our standard will be just as high and higher. And so we believe it will be a very safe voting process in October. But there are those who feel that they may not want to go to the polling location, and so we're introducing another option for them, and they can apply beginning this week for a postal ballot.
What's sort of the general outlook and turnout you're expecting for this vote by mail process?
Well, there's a lot of unknowns with respect to how many people will take up the opportunity to vote by mail. In the last election, there were about 1% that took up that opportunity. We believe that it will be significantly higher this time. We want to offer that option, and that's why Elections Saskatchewan has built our capacity so that we can offer that option to voters who may be immunocompromised or feel it's a health risk to go to a physical polling location. That said, at the same time, our polling locations will certainly be safe. We're taking a number of steps in order to make our polling locations just as safe as your local grocery store.
Now, what exactly are going to be some of those safety protocols that you're going to have at polling stations?
That's a great question. Well, first and foremost, we actually will have a larger number of polling locations this time around in the province. Normally, we would have about 1,100 polling locations. Those locations might increase in number to around 1,700 polling locations. And first and foremost, the reason we're doing that is because we're spreading out the polls within the polling location much broader than we have in the past to allow for the physical distancing that is really required in this context. But our protocols will go beyond that. Our workers will be wearing masks. We will be encouraging voters to wear masks as they go to the polls. You'll see that people will be directed very explicitly in terms of ensuring that there's a safe distance between voters and workers and voters and voters. We also are introducing hand sanitizer as well. And there will be a clear barrier between the workers and the voters, just in the same way that you see at your local grocery store. And this is all in collaboration. We've been working with the Chief Medical Health Officer to ensure that we're taking the right steps to ensure that we can offer a safer voting experience in October.
Was there ever a worry about voter turnout in your mind because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, that's a really good question. And at Elections Saskatchewan, we have very much focused on looking to other cases for what has happened in the context of running in another election in the past. So we looked at cases in the United States, those in Australia, in South Korea, to determine what were the effective ways that they could make the polls safer? And so we did our due diligence. We did a lot of research in this regard. Then we began to engage with the chief medical health officer to ask for input in terms of how we can ensure that our polling locations are safer for October. So obviously there were concerns because we're in a very unique time in the history of the province, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right things in order to offer a safe voting experience.
And lastly, Dr. Boda, where can people go to get more information about the vote by mail, or if they just want additional information?
Well, we would encourage people to come to our website at elections.sk.ca, and they'll see an opportunity to vote by mail there. The first step is really to apply to vote. It is a very simple process, and will take any voter less than 5 minutes to do this. There's a couple of pieces of identification that are required to upload. And subsequent to that, we'll be in touch with respect to the application. Closer to the end of September, closer to the election period, we will then be we'll be sending voter kits in the mail through Canada Post to the voters, which they can then take and then return to us by October the 26th. The last day to put it in the mail is October the 26th.
Well, Dr. Boda, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.